Welcome, everyone, and thank you for joining us for today's event, APAP ArtsForward Information Session on Applying to APAP's New Grant Initiative. My name is Caitlin Zachary, and I'm the Manager of Programs and Resources at the Association of Performing Arts Professionals. Closed captioning will appear on your screen. If you would like to enable the chat transcript, please click the closed captioning icon at the bottom of your Zoom window and click Show Subtitle. APAP is located on our nation's capital, Washington, D.C., on the ancestral lands of the Piscataway and the Anacostan people, who have stewarded this land throughout the generations. I would like to pay my respect to the Piscataway and Anacostan elders, both past and present. Participants on today's webinar will have the opportunity to ask questions and provide comments using the Q&A and chat functions. If you have questions, we ask that you submit them using the Q&A box. APAP is your go-to resource for the connections and resources you need to build your career as a performing arts professional in the presenting, booking, and touring field. Join APAP as we move the arts forward. We know that right now, many in our field are still recovering from the impacts of the pandemic. For that reason, APAP is offering flexible, no barriers membership through June 2022. If you are interested in joining APAP and learning more about our flexible membership dues, please contact us at info@apap365.org. I will now hand it over to Krista Bradley, APAP's Director of Programs and Resources, to introduce you to the new ArtsForward program. Krista?
Thanks, Caitlin. Hi, everybody. Can you all hear me? I'm assuming you can. Thanks so much for coming today, and thanks for your interest in this program. Today, I will be joined by two colleagues, Suzanne Callahan, our Senior Advisor from Callahan Consulting for the Arts. She is the Senior Advisor for this program, and April Gruber, our Programs Manager for ArtsForward. Okay, so let me just go over the program overview. Many of you have already visited the website, but this program is designed to support the presenting and touring field's safe and equitable reopening and recovery. We are most grateful to our funder, the Andrew W. Mellon Foundation, who provided the resources to launch this program, and to our multiple advisors from the field who have helped to shape it. These include members of our presenting and touring field, as well as agents and managers, artists, and producers. And one key date that we want to make sure that is on your calendars is the deadline, which is 5:30 Eastern Standard Time on Monday, November 15th. In terms of the structure of this program, we'll be giving out more than $2 million in grants to the field. We anticipate this will be up to 50 grants, and the awards will be broken out into either $35,000 grants or $50,000 grants, which will be awarded to US-based presenters in partnership with artists. Supporting artists is a priority of this program, and the grant period will run from February 2022 through December 2022. Now I'd like to actually turn it over to Suzanne Callahan to just walk us through the application requirements. Suzanne?
Yes. Can you see me?
Now we can, yes.
Oh, thank you. Hi, everybody. I'm Suzanne Callahan. I am calling in from Washington, D.C. I am wearing glasses and a red shirt. I'm a white middle-aged woman. So in terms of the application requirements, I will say before I start that all of the information that I'll be sharing today is in a guidelines document. It's a PDF that's on the website. So I'll just be hitting the high points. The applications need to be co-signed by a presenter with an artist. We know that's probably a new convention in our field. At least half of the funds need to go to the artist in compensation. And that compensation can include monies paid to artists and also COVID-related expenses. The engagement projects proposed can take place indoors or outdoors or virtually, but it must include some live performance elements of a variety of types. And we'll be sharing with you a little later the definition of engagement project. And the projects that you propose must include an equitable payment structure to artists, which would take place in phases over the overall engagement project. Krista, I'll turn it over to you to talk about equity.
Thank you. I think I'm having trouble with my video, so I apologize that you can't see me. Well, you have heard us talking about equity and equitable in the ways that we've described this program. This program is based on the work of a couple of different activities that took place during the pandemic. One is the work of APAP's Equitable Partnership Working Group, which grew out of the pandemic and the slew of cancellations that followed, as well as our colleagues in other working groups, including Creating New Futures and the Dance USA Joint Working Group. Applicants are encouraged to build relationships built on equitable and transparent practices. And in advance of applying, be in direct conversation with their partners. We encourage you to follow some of the guidance provided by the APAP Equitable Partnership Working Group to re-envision contracts between presenters and artists. We also ask you to consider the spirit of APAP's 10-20-30 pledge. Both links are now in the chat. Suzanne?
Yeah, having a little trouble with my camera, but I'll just go on. So in terms of eligibility, the applicant needs to be a presenter based in the United States and a presenter according to the definition that we will be sharing with you in just a moment. You need to be a member of Arts Presenters by November 9th. There's a bit of a turnaround time in the application membership process if need be. You need to have C3 status if you're a presenter and be a presenter of an independent type, either a festival or a college or university presenter, or maybe under the aegis of a larger entity such as a museum. And then finally, your budget needs to be 5 million or lower for either 2020 or 2021. And you need to be US based as well. I'm sorry, your artist needs to be US based.
Yep, thanks, Suzanne. I'm seeing some questions in the chat. I meant to actually say this at the very beginning, but we are going to hold your questions until the end. So know that we see them, but there'll be time enough for that. So one thing I want to focus on is just the presenter definition that's outlined periodically in the guidelines. This is what we mean. A presenter is an organization that selects, engages, and pays artists to perform before an audience as an ongoing and significant component of their organization's activity, and that contracts, markets, and accepts financial risk for an arts presentation that is not self-produced. And I think we now will be moving through eligibility. Thank you, Suzanne.
Yeah. In terms of what's not eligible, if you are a commercial or for-profit entity, you wouldn't be eligible for this program. If you, and this probably goes without saying, if your budget is over $5 million a year for both 2020 and 2021, you would not be eligible. If you're an artist ensemble applying as what we call the primary applicant, you would not be eligible. You are, of course, permitted to apply with a presenter. The presenter applies to collaborate with you. And then finally, the solely academic departments of universities are not eligible. College presenters are. Going on now to, I'm sorry. Could you go back to the slide? What's not competitive? An application that's submitted by a presenter that would not have the active involvement of the artist is probably not going to be compatible or competitive in this program. Also, if you're a presenter and you're thinking of structuring your project around maybe what we might call a traditional pay structure, where you're paying an artist only at the end after a performance, that's not the kind of thing that ArtsForward is set up to support. Now going on to the review criteria for the applications. So I will say here that you're going to notice the difference between the review criteria that I'll be referring to and the questions later asked in the application. That's intentional. So we'll be looking, or our peer panel will be looking, that is, at how clear and the nature of the rationale for the engagement project. They will be looking at the strength of the relationship between the presenter and the artist who's being proposed. We'll be looking at the potential of the engagement project proposed to serve as a model of equitable partnership. We're at a point in our field where we're hopefully moving forward into some new directions. Looking at the clear commitment to fair compensation for the artist involved in the project, including a comprehensive pay structure. And then if there is a broader community involved in the engagement project, the match of that project with the community.
You're muted, Krista.
Thank you. Let's talk about the compensation to artists. At least 50% of the grant funds must go to the artists. Top of this discussion, we talked about how funding artists is a priority, and that's reflected in the way that the compensation structure is set. Artists receives at least 50% of the funds in their first payment issued soon after the grant start date. The artist should be paid for their overall engagement, including any virtual activities, rather than at the end of a performance, but paid throughout the entire course of the engagement, whatever components that might include. The compensation timeline and the amounts must reflect, must be mutually agreeable, and that means by having common and clear milestones and clarity around the arrangements regarding cancellation and force majeure. Again, both artists and presenters may incur extra costs for COVID-19, and those would be eligible expenses in this grant. Suzanne?
Yeah, sorry, there's a slight delay here. So in terms of the definitions that this program is centered on, there are about 7 or 8 definitions on the website, and we're going to highlight 3 today. We already talked about the definition of presenter and just a couple of more here. The engagement project, what we mean in the context of this program is the overall range, I'm in the city, of involvement between the presenter and artist, starting as soon as the grant period starts or whenever your project starts, going to the end of 2022. It might include travel or virtual activities. It must, of course, include some in-person activities with what we're calling performance elements. And there must be a live or public community-based connection between the artist and the host presenters, attendees or audiences. And the other is payment structure. I want to reference that there is a pretty robust resources page on the website that will refer to a number of the frankly crucial and vital documents that have been created by groups such as Creating New Futures, as well as APAP's Building Ethical and Equitable Partnerships in the Performing Arts field. And so what those groups are calling for, and I will be referencing APAPs or BEEP as we call it in particular, having more equitable language in contracts, using terms and defining terms such as mutually agreeable and addressing the health and safety of performers. The second thing is to advocate for greater transparency around fees. And that means a payment structure that is tiered throughout the course of an overall engagement and includes a first payment. And the third is to address alternatives for invoking force majeure by coming up with arrangements that are mutually beneficial and mutually agreeable. And, you know, for example, might include compensation, probably would include compensation for any virtual activities. So going on now to how to apply. Well, the first thing is actually things to do before you apply to the program. There is a PDF with the entire guidelines as referenced on the website. And what you're going to see on the main website page is actually an excerpt from the guidelines. So please download that PDF and read it all. The second thing is be in conversation. If your presenters, be in conversations with artists. If your artists, be in conversations with presenters. It's been such a hard time for our field. It's unparalleled. So please reach out to each other, reconnect. And the third is, again, do become a member by November 9th. And you will see in the chat information about Sue Noseworthy, who is the membership director, who you should reach out to if you have any questions about membership. So what you'll be asked for on the application. Well, you'll be asked for some standard contact and demographic information. I'm going to pause here to say in chat, you will see a link to what we're calling the application guide. We've created in a Word Google Doc for you all the questions so you can download it and start filling it out before you enter the application portal. So you can see here some pretty standard questions: backgrounds on the organization, a bio for the artist. We'll be asking for an overall project budget figure, just one number, as well as the amount to be paid to the artist. You won't need a full budget, project budget at this stage. We'll be asking you as a presenter to sign on to general agreements to pay the artist in phases, and to also make an initial payment very soon after you receive your own money. And then finally, and we know this is new, both the artist and the presenter will have access to see the application, contribute to the application, and sign the application. And that was in direct response to, I think, some ongoing maybe criticisms and observations on the part of artists in the field that sometimes applications go in about which they may not be fully aware. So in April, in a moment, is going to be showing you the portal for the application. So open-ended questions. Here you'll start seeing a connection with those review criteria to which I referred earlier. We will be asking you about how you the presenter, if you are a presenter, or you the artist, if you're an artist today, envision working together. So that is somewhat of a project description. All these questions are fairly short. You're allowed, I think, 1,000 characters. We will be asking you how and why you decided to apply together, and the mutual needs that your project might address. And we will be asking you for a general timeline. It's not a chart, it's not a long list, just a few key points. If there is a broader community involved in the project, we'll be asking you how they would be involved. And then finally, we will be asking you at this very unique time how this project responds to the artist's interests at this time, and what the artist's overall intent is, if there's anything to say in addition to what you said in the first question. And then very finally would be the presenter's overall plans and goals and how this project fits with them. So yeah, so I think we can go on. Yeah, so in terms of the next phase, which will take place in December, around 100 applicants would be asked to provide what we're calling additional information. It's not the submission of a full application. It truly is adding some things to what you already submitted. If there are any available details about the engagement as you know them, we'll ask that you provide that. We'll ask that you describe your tentative payment agreement, including a general payment schedule that you see. It won't be a request for a full payment agreement yet. This next thing we know is probably new to many of you. We will be asking you to record the presenter with the artist together, a video, very informal. You can do it in Zoom, you can do it in FaceTime, whatever. Speaking to your intentions and collaborating together. We might provide some prompts or questions for you to address if that's helpful to you, but you probably need not even address those if you prefer a different way. And we will be asking for more of a budget for the project at that point, as well as a work sample from the artist. So if you are not among those who receive the full grant, please know that you will receive $1,000 presenters to be split with the artist, with at least half of that $1,000 going to the artist. So going on to the timeline now. Just the key elements I'll mention, and this again is on the website. Your applications again are due on November 15th at 5:30 p.m. That is Eastern time. Please take a note. So for you on the West Coast, that's 2:30 your time. This initial phase will be reviewed by a peer panel, actually, who will be reviewing both phases of the application. By December 20th, you will know if you're invited to submit that additional information to which I refer. The grant period is coming up pretty quickly. You'll get notification by mid-February And the grant period will start as early as late February and conclude in December of 2022. So going on here. So help is available if you would like to have some assistance in preparing an application. In addition to today's webinar, there will be another. They will be recorded and shared. You can contact me as well as April Gruber, who will pop on screen in a moment. There is a pretty comprehensive list of frequently asked questions available to you. We're going to refer to some of those in a minute. And you can sign up for 15-minute consultation appointments. We ask that you do read the guidelines in advance of those appointments. There will be a link on the main page to sign up tomorrow. That's not quite available yet. And again, we refer to resources and references, a document on the website that does have all the excellent work of some of the groups referenced today, as well as other groups. So I will turn it over now to April Gruber to tell you about the application portal.
Thank you, Suzanne. My name is April Gruber, and I am a white woman with shoulder-length blonde hair wearing a purple sweater. As Suzanne mentioned, the ArtsForward application is a collaborative application process. Presenters, you are the primary applicant, and the artist with whom you're applying will be invited as a collaborator to this application. The application itself will be hosted in the SurveyMonkey Apply platform. Before you can access the platform, all applicants, the presenter, the artist, will be asked to register using an email and creating a password. The screen that you're, actually, if we can go back just one, I'm sorry. The screen that you're looking at is the main registration screen. Both the login button and the green register button are found at the top right of this slide within that maroon circle there. Select register if you need to create an account. And if you've used the SurveyMonkey Apply platform before, select login and you can enter your previously used credentials. Now inviting a collaborator. Presenters, this button, this gray button in the bottom left corner of your screen highlighted in the maroon circle is where you will invite your artist to apply as a collaborator. Once that invitation is sent to the artist accepts the request and they'll have access to the application and can begin contributing. Invite the artist early, presenters. It lets them let them know that this email's coming. It gives everybody time to complete the application. Artists, to help you out in this process too, we've also got an artist collaborator guide that will be dropped in the chat. And it's a great resource for you to be able to guide you through the application process. Now on to what the actual form looks like in the task list. Presenters, once you've completed this the eligibility questionnaire, you'll see a green check mark in that gray little circle up at the top left-hand corner in that task list that's circled there in maroon. This also includes the other forms within the application, the organization information, the artist information, the engagement project description, and lastly, agreements and signatures. Each of those little gray circles in that task list will turn green when the form's complete. The right-hand side of your screen will show you the form that you're actively working in. In this example, it's the very top instructions of the organization information form. Once the section is marked as complete, you'll still be able to edit and change the answers to your application. No fear. The three little ellipses in the tiny circle in your top right of your screen there, you're going to select that button. A drop-down menu will appear and you can select edit to make any necessary changes. You'll notice in the portal that both presenters and artists can see all responses within the entire application. Presenters, we ask you to please complete the organization information and artists to contribute to the artist collaborator information. You both will have access to edit the engagement project description and the agreements and signatures form. You may want to agree on who's allowed to edit those particular forms to avoid any confusion or unwanted changes. So now onto the agreements and signature portion. This is the final form within the application. You will not be able to access this form until all the others within the application are complete. But here, both the artist and the presenter have to sign the form. Presenters, again, please allow time for the artist to sign here or get clearance to sign on their behalf. On to submission. When the application is complete and all the forms on the left have the little green check marks, the presenter can choose to review or submit the application as indicated in the bottom left of your screen there. Once the application is submitted, an acknowledgement screen appears within the platform, and you can see what that looks like in the top right. If you want to print or download your application, those three little ellipses again in that circle in the bottom right of your screen, that allows you to pick from a Dropbox menu to either print or download your form or your application. As if that wasn't confirmation enough, you've submitted and you will get an email confirmation, both you and your artist collaborator. It'll have the subject line, your ArtsForward application was received. It'll look just like this slide. We ask that you please list the email address noreply@smapply.io to ensure the message is received and not filtered to spam. A last few reminders, the application, it's best completed on a computer rather than a tablet or a mobile device. Presenters, again, once an artist is decided, please invite them to the application as early as possible. While you're navigating the platform, if you have any questions, SurveyMonkey Apply has an FAQ resource and help center you may wish to reference. I also welcome you to reach out to me for any additional assistance. Suzanne?
Yes, thank you. So there is a long list of FAQs available to you. We're just going to highlight some of the ones that we think might be most common. The first is, can a presenter work with a local artist? The answer is yes, you can, local or touring artists. The second is, can the presenter, may an artist, the same artist, be named on more than one application? And the answer to that is actually no. If you're approached by more than one presenter artist, good on you, but you will need to choose one. And please let the other ones know which one you chose. Are artists not represented in groups that are promoted within APAP's 10-20-30 pledge eligible? Yes, they are. The next one, and these next are for artists. If you're an artist, should you contact presenters about applying? Yeah, definitely. Please be in contact with them. Please do, have conversations. It's been a long, difficult pandemic, and we encourage people to reconnect and be in touch with each other. So if you're an artist, what if multiple presenters approach you about applying? Again, good on you. Please choose the one that seems to make the most sense. And just because you can only apply with one doesn't mean you can't still collaborate and or communicate with the other presenters in other ways. And we, encourage that, of course. If you're an artist, we've had this question so far several times, can you apply to present your own work? No, the answer is no. This program is for presenters working in collaboration with artists. And then the final one is how to collaborate on applications if you're a presenter and artist. And April has explained that technically, and we've also encouraged you all to be in touch. So that's the high points of the FAQs. There's probably 3 times as many on the full list. So Krista, I'll turn it over to you. You're on mute.
I know I am. Thank you. So I think we're at the point where we're asking for questions. Is that right? Yes. So there have been a number of questions asked in the chat box and in the Q&A, but I can't see the Q&A one, so I'm going to need some help with that since I had to restart my computer. So I'll start with the initial ones that I saw in the chat, and we'll get to those that were in the Q&A box. So bear with us on that. The first question that we got is from Anna Becker. If the presenter, director, and producer are US based, can the performers be from another country? The answer is no. Both the artists and the presenters need to be US based. Pamela Monacchio asked, please explain the organizational budget requirement. If we operate on a fiscal year that is not the calendar year, can we look at financials for the calendar years as requested? Which COVID impacts were the greatest? Do you want to take that, Suzanne?
Sure. You'll need to look at your financials on calendar year 2020 and 2021. So if you keep your financials on a fiscal year, you'll need to, do some calculations on making those, adapting them to a calendar year.
Right, and one of the reasons that we wanted to do that is we know how many of you that got SFOG money and that were working through SFOG know that your financials were completely different, once the pandemic hit. So we wanted to be able to compare apples to apples in terms of calendar year changes. So hopefully that will be an easy thing for you. The next question is, if your partner is a division of a larger nonprofit entity and the division has a budget under 5 million, but the larger entity has a larger budget, is the project eligible?
What
For
are
instance,
we meaning by, oh, I'm sorry, go ahead, please.
yeah, so for instance, if a performance division within a museum is applying. So yes, if you are a smaller component of a larger institution and your budget, the host institution is 5 million or more, but your operating budget is less, say you are a presenting series within a college, you are a university presenter, whether it's a state, college, or private university presenter, you are eligible. If you are a presenting series within a museum, you are eligible, just as long as you're in the US. Anything else you want to add, Suzanne, there?
I think you covered it.
Okay. So I think we addressed the university presenters are eligible. And I believe we have clarified the question about the budget requirement, that you are eligible if you are part of a larger institution when your budget's under 5 million. There's a question from Janet Roston. Can you explain how you fill out the form asking about gender, et cetera, and presenter and artist?
Sure. I will say that these questions, they're desired to help APAP and us determine if we're making progress on some of the goals, specifically in the APAP 10-20-30 pledge. We have intentionally left the language open-ended in those fields so that organizations can self-identify by percentages, proportions, or individually as they themselves are comfortable. So that's my guidance on how to apply, and how to complete those. And if you have any questions, by all means, email us or sign up for one of our consultations. We'll be happy to guide you.
Thank you. Renee, I think we've actually answered your question about PACs within a university. In terms of a formal consortium of presenters apply together, can they apply together and work with a single artist in multiple locations? You can certainly work together in a consortia, but only one of you can apply for that artist. So there are many other funding opportunities and other resources that can help consortia of presenters working together to route an artist. But this is not one of them. There are other ways to work around that, and we'll be happy to chat with you more if you need some ideas for how to do that. But only one presenter can apply for one artist. There is a question from Marge Limbert about the match requirement if the community is involved. There is no match requirement for the budget. So sorry if that wasn't clear, but we just want to make sure that I think Suzanne's slide was talking about just how well, does the project and the program match your community needs and the community demographics or other aspects of your community that you're trying to reach. That match is not a financial match. So good question.
Thank you.
Yeah, that was great. Let's see, where are we? If our budget has surpassed 5 million for the 2022 fiscal year and 2022 calendar year, but was under 5 million in 2020 and 2021, are we eligible?
Yes.
Yes. We will put up the link to the application portal again, maybe, yeah, thanks, April, if you can do that. Olivia, thanks for joining. I know that you joined late, but it's really, you can only apply for one artist. And there is no requirement for the amount of performances or live productions. That's a very good question, Janny. We are trying to be as flexible as possible with the resumption of returning to our stages and to artists, re-engaging with presenters and producers and agents and managers presenting, connecting with venues. So there's no live performance or production or number, sorry, there's not a requirement for the number of performances that need to be aligned with a project. And I just want to be clear about that. They might be works in progress that are on the way to actually creating a new work. There could be hybrid or video components that are en route to a work, to realize production, but there's no stipulation on the number of performances that need to be aligned to the project. Ellen Petrillo asks, what criteria determines who gets a $35,000 grant versus the $50,000 grant? That is an excellent question, and I'm going to hand it over to Suzanne. That's an excellent question. Thanks for that.
I don't fully know. I think that will be a determination in policy that will be set by the panel. I think you should apply for what you truly need. I have a feeling intuitively that there might be some relationship to budget size and the level of artist fee being paid relative to some of the other questions that are in chat. You'd be applying with one artist or one ensemble. So I will give that some thought, and we will go back and have a little consultation. And we will add an FAQ about that in the question list. I don't know if we're going to get to all the questions today, but if we don't, just rest assured we will address them in another form.
Yeah, great. John Lehrer, thank you for this question. Will the application be more competitive if we, the artist, apply with a presenter we have a proven history of working together, or is it better to apply with new presenters? That's an excellent question. I will take a stab at the first part of this, because I think we just want this. We want artists to be working, and we want engagements to resume. We think this is a great opportunity to do both, right? We encourage artists to partner, and artists and agents and producers to partner with new presenters. We encourage presenters to do the same. We also know that this is a very short time frame, and we know that there are probably folks that you know well and that you have an existing relationship with, and that's good too. So basically, neither is more competitive, but we certainly hoped that we see both. Suzanne, would you want to amplify anything more?
I think you said it.
Okay, great. Does the project have to end up by December 2022? If payment is made by then, can the project be extended?
As long as the payment is made by then, there may not be a hard end date. However, the reporting will need to happen, and the payments will need to be wrapped up, given some administrative circumstances that we have to take care of.
Mm-hmm. Karen Fisher is an agent and asks, the form has space for presenter and artist. However, as an agent, I handle negotiations, logistics, artist bios, etc. Though artist and presenter discuss artistic content, how do we manage both agent and artist having access to the form?
I'm happy to take that one. Yes, both can be invited as collaborators to the application. The presenter can invite both the artist and the agent. Once you are in the artist collaborator information form, this information can be filled out by the artist or an artist representative. And there is a section that asks, does the artist have an agent? And their contact information is indeed completed there. If you have any questions as you're navigating that portion of the portal, please reach out and I'm happy to support you.
Great. Thank you, April. How are we doing on time? We have 40 minutes. Okay. Let's see. Does the work presented have to be new work for the artist? That's a great question. Suzanne, do you want to take that?
Well, The project needs to be shaped around, as we mentioned, live performance elements in a true presentation-based relationship between a true presenter and an artist. While we don't rule out the possible reimagining and restagings and or moving forward in new forms of works that due to cancellations to COVID were not possible, where we do draw the line is in what we would call productions, such as a sort of standard production of a theater company or a standard production of a classic theater work, co-productions. And that for us falls more in the category of an artist ensemble that would be self-produced. So, and that's partly why we wanted to include the definition of presenter above.
Exactly. And that's that. Hopefully Nancy Hayes, who asks sort of a similar question, can an artist be a playwright who is hiring actors and musical performers for a world premiere youth program? Would that be eligible? And that would not be eligible based on the what we said earlier, and in terms of really has to be a presenting organization that does that on a regular basis and brings in artists to be presented. Does the work presented have to be new work for the artist? No. Does it?
No.
No. Will the application be more, we already asked that, okay. If an artist has two completely unique and different acts, can one presenter apply for one and another for another, even if some of the artists overlap?
No, if you're an artist, you can be named once. Everybody gets one shot here. Every presenter gets one shot. Every artist gets one shot. The great news is we'll have 50 grants to make. The up to 50. The unfortunate news is we have 50 grants to make, only 50. So we really wanted to be more equitable in allowing everybody one shot.
Yeah, thanks. The slides will be available after today. You can find, we will have it mounted on our website under the arts program page, and certainly the recording will also be available. I think there was an earlier question whether the chat would be available so that people could access the links and the resources that we've noted. Those are on the ArtsForward website, but we'll also make that available. How would someone sign up for a 15-minute consultation?
They will do that tomorrow as soon as your website has the updated link, and it's a tech thing. Yes, they look forward to seeing you in that consultation.
Yeah. Can the artist applying with a presenter be an artistic director performing in and planning a festival?
A festival or the festival?
A festival. Terry, I actually would suggest that you sign up for a 15-minute consultation with Suzanne in April. I think there's some questions that we'd want to ask to just get a better sense of that. Is a project with an artist that is already contracted for the 22 time period eligible? Yes. Hey, John Castonia, thanks for your question. When do the presenters get the funds? Are artists required to be APAP members? And can the artist's work be something that was done years before, meaning a theater piece? So I can probably answer most of those. Presenters will get the funds soon after they get their award letter, which would be within 30 days of their award notification. We expect those will go out by mid-March. And those would be made by ACH. Are artists required to be APAP members? No, they don't need to be APAP members, but the presenter does need to be an APAP member as of November 9th. Can the artist work be something that was done years before? Yes. Yeah.
I think you should sign up for an appointment with us to get more information about that.
About that theater piece?
Yeah,
right. Good point. That's great clarity. Going back to eligibility, are municipally owned theaters able to apply? It was mentioned that only C3 organizations are eligible.
That's true. It's C3 organizations.
Nancy Hayes, I'm just not sure. I'm a little confused by your last response to my question. There's a presenting organization that wants to partner with me as a playwright.
I would sign up
Nancy,
for a
yeah, sign up for a consultation. That would be great. Consultations are open as of tomorrow. And if you go to our website, since we're in the middle of our hosting shift, web hosting shift, you're not eligible, you're not able to see that. But after tomorrow, you can sign up for a consultation.
And the consultations, to answer the rest of your question, will run from October 15th to November 12th.
Great. Amy Vasha, thank you for your question. Project dates are February 15th through December 31st, 2022. That is correct. We did clarify that the notifications will happen mid-February, and the first the majority of the disbursement of funds will happen by mid-March. I am going to ask Caitlin to read the other questions that I might not be able to see.
Sure. I think this one you've touched on a bit, but it says, does the 50% for artist compensation and expenses need to go to the co-signed artist only, or can the payments to the artists, can payments be made to other artists in collaboration with them involved in that project?
We're looking at this as an application with an artist, realizing that may be more than an individual artist or a set ensemble that does not change. So, but 50% of the artist compensation would go to that artist to then support other collaborating artists involved as they wish. At least 50%. So that's
thank you. We have already started the project planning and made artist payments for the project we are considering applying for. Can those artist payments already be made, or can the payments that have already been made be counted towards the 50% of the compensation to the artist that is issued soon after the grants start?
No, the 50% of the compensation is to come out of this grant.
Does the artist need to receive 50% of their portion of the grant award or 50% of the contract amount in the first payment?
50% of their artist contract amount in the first payment.
Yep.
Excellent. Thank you.
Are there more?
Yes, I think you did answer this one. It says we are applying for a festival that features multiple artists. Do we need to ask only one of the artists to collaborate, or can we include all 4 to 5 of them? Essentially, they're having a festival with multiple artists, and I think they're just wanting clarification that this is just for one artist, correct?
Correct.
Yeah.
One artist or ensemble.
Right.
Got it. Thank you. This one says, I was wondering if the applications are limited to single performances or if this could support multiple performances or seasonal support.
This is not for an overall season. It is for a collaboration with a single artist or ensemble. To the extent that that artist will be making multiple trips in, I mean, it's possible that they could be doing, you know, a work in progress showing and or a socially distant outdoor performance, and then later perform inside, but it needs to be shaped around, you know, a continuum of activity with an artist or ensemble.
And that one artist, right? And that one artist and ensemble.
Yeah.
So we
This is the last.
about the relationship, you know, having an extended relationship with an artist. This is about relationships. So.
Thank you. This is the last one that I have on the Q&A. It says, what are the final reporting requirements? Do both the artist and the presenter complete it?
Full disclosure, the reporting requirements are not written yet. We envision them being light on the amount of work involved. I know that, you know, funding entities always say that, and then it ends up being more time, but we are committed to that. And I will address that in an FAQ later, because I don't want to say something and when we haven't had a chance to fully consider it.
Great, but it's a good question. Final question, really, I think, is a presenting organization eligible if they have a fiscal sponsor, such as a fractured atlas, but are not themselves yet a 501c3 org?
No, these are for C3 organizations.
Yeah, so you would have to be that. So no fiscal sponsorships there. And I think that we might have just gotten through all the questions. And would one more. Would a touring show be considered for this grant?
It depends on what you mean by touring show and what the nature of the relationship is between the presenter and the artist. I mean, there's projects that are eligible, and then there's projects that might be more competitive than others. And so I would encourage you to sign up for a consultation so that we could hear more about your circumstances.
So with that, I think we might have gotten through everything. And we are so thankful that so many of you are interested in this program, and we look forward to seeing your applications. I think we'll put up that last slide, and we can just give you some reference information to screen capture if you want. For more information, you can go to that address, www.apap365.org/program/arts-forward. And again, the deadline is Monday, November 15th at 5:30 Eastern Standard Time. I want to thank April and Suzanne for being amazing partners in this very fast-tracked program that we are trying to launch to help the field get back on its feet. Suzanne, would you like to say any closing remarks, or April?
Oh, just thank you. Thank you to everybody. I am beyond excited to be part of this program, and so excited to see the high level of participation today. So bring on your questions. It will be great to have conversations and learn more about, how you're doing out there and what you have in mind.
Likewise, thank you all so much. And please know that Suzanne and I are here as a resource for you throughout this application process to provide clarity or any additional support that you may need.
Great. Thanks, everybody, and have a great day. Really appreciate you being here. Take care.